a question now related to health care, which is the topic at hand. Republicans, when you ask them about the cuts, always say, what are you going to cut elsewhere? What taxes are you going to have to raise in order to pay or rescind the Medicaid cuts? What sort of response do you have to sort of that line of argumentation?
We just had a special session in which they gave one developer in North St. Louis a $95 million tax credit and made ticket scalping legal. I'm not going to take any sort of criticism or yammering from anybody who voted to cut these people's opportunities for their life about what the priorities for the expenditures of the dollars of the state of Missouri are. Over $5 million has gone to a Coaches Hall of Fame in Kansas City for basketball coaches. Once again, I'm a basketball fan, but when it comes to the healthcare folks that want to work and had opportunities to have to get a letter like this from your government that says all of the things that you've relied on, things like rehabilitation, day rehabilitation, foot care service, all that's just going to be slashed and cut with no opportunity or no voice to be heard. There are plenty of places where the wrong priorities will be made. Fundamentally, Matt Blunt asked the wrong question when he became governor. He said, how do we slash health care to balance the budget? In reality, what you say is, how do we get the most resources available to provide health care to people in the state of Missouri? And when you look at it that wrong way, then you have the consequences right here, where you have someone an adult, who's working hard, getting rehabilitation, that the only process they get is a notice from the government saying something they've paid their tax dollars for, something they've spent down their own resources that they could have saved their money to pay for, with no process and no ability for them has been slashed. So our plan is relatively simple in the short run. In the first supplemental budget that we present to the legislature, in the first 2 months of my governorship in 2009, we will begin the process of restoring these cuts and drawing down the federal dollars to pay for them. People can rest well assured that the primary focus of my initial efforts as governor in the year 2009 will be to get us going in the right direction.
How are you going to pass that supplemental action if the legislature is still Republican after 2008?
I don't think this is about Democrat and Republican. Maybe these Republicans, these hard right-wing guys. But the bottom line is when we passed, for example, the hospital FRA that helps us draw down additional federal dollars, that was done in a bipartisan way when we had a Republican governor. This is not about Democrat and Republican. That's one of the most significant problems that's happening in Jeff City right now, is that Matt Blunt fundamentally doesn't understand the difference between politics and public service. He thinks it's all politics all the time. People don't get elected to come to Jeff City to think they're going to ride an elephant or a donkey to do their jobs. They get elected to sit in a seat and represent the hundreds of thousands of people they're elected to do. This is not about Democrat or Republican. This is about doing the right thing. And I'm going to work, whether somebody's a Democrat or a Republican, I'm going to work to sensitize them to the reality of these issues and work with them to explain how we can draw down federal dollars and begin to get the state moving in another direction. I don't think it has anything to do with Democrat and Republican. I think it's all to do with right and wrong, and I think this is the right thing to do. Transparent, operate accordingly. All of us have to comport ourselves to the Sunshine Law and the record retention laws. With the level of information that we've had coming in as of late, which have been much more specific and dramatic reports of record retention as well as Sunshine Law problems, we're in a situation where very soon I'm going to announce some action we're going to take. You will not have to wait until Missouri meets Kansas State to hear about that.
So you're planning on filing a lawsuit in the next 2 or 3 days?
I think you'll be able to hear from our office what action we think is appropriate and how this ought to be properly reviewed and dealt with. We've been working to take information that